Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. This week we'll be previewing the mighty Freo clash this Saturday, boys. How are we feeling?
Excited by the prospect of facing a good side. Good weekend of footy ahead, actually, with I think every top 8 team versing each other. And they put 2 shit games on a Friday night, so it's good.
Yeah, it shows the rolling fixtures working well. They have a rolling fixture and still manage to stuff it all up. Anyway, Pato, how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, mate. Feeling confident. Especially after last week, after last episode, we weren't so confident with this team. But I think it's a good chance for the team to kind of just respond. But also I'm very nervous to what can happen on Saturday afternoon, 1:45.
Yep, Saturday afternoon, 1:45, Marvel Stadium, which I think favours us a little bit. We seem to play better there. It's a bit quicker, I don't know, but each your own. Last time we met, of course, we have played this year, 97-62 over there, so a 35-point loss. We have won, including that one, I think at least 2 out of the last 3 though, so they don't have the worst record. And I mean, that game wasn't close, but they sometimes do bring some close affairs, the Fremantle games. What's your favourite Freo versus Blues game, Ethan Daffy?
Jeez, there's been a few. Both sides much better now, I think. Just more well-rounded sides rather than being that kind of middle of the block kind of teams. I think you can't really go past Newsy, but for me it was Murph's one. For some reason that game was, I think we were down by 5 goals at the start of the game, and I think Paddy Dow got us going with a goal from 50 on the run, and then it was just one of those games that you enjoy watching back a few times, and Murph was just made it sweet. It was a Murph banana, so it just finished it off well.
Absolutely, mate. Pato?
Yeah, I think Daff mentioned it there. I me personally, you can't go you can't really not pick the big Noonsy kicking the goal. I think just my reaction to that was just because I mean I've never seen a goal after the siren from Carlton in my life, I don't think. So that was just that was next level excitement, because that game was just so shit. And just the whole time it was just absolutely I think we were never in it, and then we were in it, but they were just always just ahead, and we were just shocking, and then somehow I think it was Sam Doherty that got it downfield, and then Michael Gibbons was like, no, it's down here. The next minute, Newsy had the kick, and I'm like, what? Then he kicked it, and just unbelievable.
It was an interesting sort of 30 seconds really, whether it was there and where it should have been taken, who should have taken it as well. But no, we took it, and it's probably my favourite memory as well. All right, we'll go into the potential inclusions now. Who do you see coming into the side, Pato, and who's making way?
Yeah, so my outs, obviously, with injuries that we expect, we expect Jack Martin to miss, but I don't if he wasn't injured, I would have probably dropped him. Me personally, I'm pretty much over him. I just think he just needs to go back into the VFL. He's just he's not doing enough, especially for his paycheck. So I think he definitely will miss, even if he is injured. Even if he isn't injured, but also Durden, I don't know what's the injury. Is it 3 to 4 weeks, or is it longer?
Durden, at least 3 to 4, I think.
Yeah, so that's Sam Durden, obviously. So I think he obviously we don't really have many key backs left. So I brought in Brodie Kemp. I think he's probably the only really realistic change, unfortunately. But I think he can do a role. It's his chance to really step up. And also Josh Honey. I've heard pretty good things that he performed pretty well in the VFL. So I'm excited to see him play for the first since round 23 last year, I think. I think he played against the Giants. So we'll be excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I've probably got the same as you, I think, there. So Ian Honey played very well at the twos. Obviously, I was there. Brodie Kemp played pretty well on Bruce. He kicked a few goals in the end. But then also Setterfield played very well, 34 disposals and a goal. Easily the best game I've seen him play, whether VFL or AFL. And then Fogarty and Jack Carroll also played pretty well. And Hayes, I thought was good. But whether they can come in for anyone, I'm not sure. But I definitely see Honey and Kemp obviously has to come in. There's not really any other options. The only other option would be Dom Hukui, who can't come in. So Yeah, Durden out, Martin out. I wouldn't be surprised if Owies made way for like a Motlop or whoever as well. But yeah, whatever. See what happens there. But Ethan.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. Yeah, like it's the back stocks are looking very light right now with Sammy Durden, who was the replacement going down. But good news, Wiedering's on track for return next week. So probably got one more week without Wieders, and hopefully he's 100%. Our players have been recovering very well from their injuries, apart from Gov. Everyone's been on track or a little bit early, which is good. Josh Honey for mine. I think if he gets going, he's best 22 every week. I think he's got the X factor. I think he can play that Martin role much better than Martin can currently. And yeah, I think Setterfield has to come in as the medi sub. 34 in the last 2 games. You got to give the guy a bit of respect and get him in the side. So whether that's in the 22 or sub, I don't really mind.
Yeah, fair enough. There was definitely a few players there that you could. I mean, the twos that played well enough, but Setterfield stood above all really, well, alongside Honey, obviously, who kicked goals. But beautiful boys. All right, we'll get into key matchups. Ethan, do you want to run us through them, mate?
Yeah, sure, mate. I think the Freo Dockers are probably my, I like them. I like the way they go about it, and I think both our clubs are kind of on the rise. I think Freo weren't rated before the year like they were, like they are now. So they're definitely a chance at the premiership, and hopefully, if we get players back, we're a shot, but not quite yet, I reckon. But first matchup is Pearce against Mackay, and I rate Pearce very highly. He's had injuries over the last few years and struggled to just, get out there on the park, which has hurt them a bit. So getting personnel is huge for them. What do you reckon about this matchup, Pato?
Yeah, I think Pearce is a fantastic player, and also just because I feel like he maybe started as a forward. I don't know why that's into my mind. Like maybe not. He's always been a key back his whole career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's just broken. I think he's broken his leg once and done his knee, so he's been out for. But this year he's played every game, I think.
Yeah, so not good injuries, but but I think he's a threat. Like 100% he is. So he'll probably go straight to Mackay or Kerno. It's kind of whoever they really think is more of a threat, and whoever really suits Pearce's game more to kind of dominate more of our forwards. But I think Harry's up to it. I think we need to remember that he actually walked out last week with 4 goals. So 4.
Yeah, 4.
So so I think he's up to it. But once again, it's a big threat. It's a big threat because that's one of their strengths. Is their key backs in their back line.
It has changed this year, I think, for mine. Every year we verse the Dockers, and I wasn't really worried about their defenders. They're always one short. And Harry kicked 7 against them last year, and they just looked. Personally, they're good. They're back. I think Ryan, probably Luke Ryan and Pearce are their 2 key backs. So I'd imagine Ryan would go to Kerno, a bit more agile, and then Pearce that kind of big back. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this, Sammy? And how do you reckon Harry will go?
Yeah, I mean, you both said it very well with Ryan and Pearce there. But I think Harry played pretty well last week, I reckon, for his first game back. He was taking marks, especially towards the end there. We did say he had a couple of defenders, obviously, on him, as you do when you're the reigning Coleman medalist, I guess. But I think he'll go pretty well. Marvel Stadium, him and Charlie should definitely dig in and kick a few goals.
Yeah, and I think the Dryer game, I think last week was terrible. And our ball use inside 50 was horrendous if we ever got it in there. Richmond got it in there about 550 times. So we'll move on to a matchup, 2 of the most exciting players in the comp, in my opinion, and that's Andy Brayshaw and Sam Walsh. Really just lifting their games every year. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Pato?
Yeah, what a matchup. How old is Brayshaw? Is he older than Walsh?
22. Yeah, older, I think. 1 year older.
1 year. Yeah, 1 year. So, he's been a fantastic player. I reckon he's a Brownlow fancy, 100%. I reckon he's probably been in my opinion, he's been the most consistent player with the same sort of performances. Couldn't get the word out there. But I think Walsh is starting to get back to his form, which is really good to see. So I think this is where the match will be decided with the midfield battle. I think this is really because I reckon the midfielders last week, on our end were pretty poor. So I think they need to respond. And also midfielders, like they have so many midfielders, and they obviously returned a legend last week in Nat 5. So that will be another big threat. But yeah, we'll be interesting to see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, and just touching on our mids, for mine, I think the last 3 weeks have been horrendous in the middle. Clearance games really struggled, and even though last on Nank and TDK, the hit-outs are pretty similar. So I just don't really get what we're doing wrong. It's that after the hit-out, what are we doing wrong? Obviously, Pitto a big out, but there's just something wrong going there, and hopefully they can lift because our defenders are holding up, and that's our place where we have no one playing. So, what's the issue there? If we're worrying about injuries to our backs when they're holding up with 76 inside 50s and almost winning the game, is props to the defenders, but not good enough for the midfielders. What are your thoughts on this, Sammy?
That's very well said there. Yeah, we're all worried about all the defenders going down, but last week was where we lost out of the midfield, but which has been our strong suit for the year pretty much. But yeah, I think Brayshaw's had a fantastic year. I think he's definitely up there with the Brownlow, him and Lockie Neal, and Cripper not so much, but them two I reckon. But yeah, no, I reckon both play well. I think it will be decided here. I think it's gonna be a very high scoring game. I think Marvel's, it's pretty fast. You sort of get it out of the midfield, you're more often not going to score. So yeah, I see it being a fairly high scoring game, but be a great contest. Brayshaw versus Walsh.
Very exciting. I think Walsh got a lot of it against the Tigers, but just his impact, I think, with ball in hand wasn't as much as we've been seeing in the last month or so. So hopefully, he can just get more meters gained and really, attack the Dockers on Saturday arvo. We'll move on to the big Shrek Darcy, who I think is a fantastic ruckman, just that kind of big fella that can move. He's gotten really fit over the last probably couple of years. I think when he first started, he was a bit tubby, but that's just as a young ruckman. He's gotten really fit, and he's fantastic for the Dockers. TDK obviously developing into a very solid ruckman himself. What do you reckon how this matchup's going to go, Pato?
Yeah, I think Darcy reminds me, because I think a couple of weeks ago where we played against the Giants, Daff, you said it, like you called Bruce like the size of a house, and Darcy reminds me of someone like that. Well, like I don't know why, he always reminds me of like a truck, or like cruiser, like a tractor. So I don't know why, but yeah, I think Darcy's been pretty good this season. I think he's probably arguably up there, maybe with Witts, probably gone as well, to be the All-Australian ruckman. So I think he's definitely up there. He's missed a few games, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the year with All-Australian. But I think Darcy is going to be, he's been a great ruckman for a couple of years, as you said. But yeah, I think Teddy K, he's surprised me definitely. Like he's actually suited. He's actually kind of gone into the role a lot better than I actually thought. Because I thought with Pitto, I thought that we were stuffed. Because I didn't think Teddy K was really up to being that sole ruckman. But I think he's really put in the effort, I think. And he's just used his strengths, which I think is the main thing as to why he's been so good.
Yeah, 100% agree. Carlton, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think TDK deserves a lot of credit. I think he's had a great year considering the amount of pressure. I think we said it last week, the week before. Like a lot about the pressure that's been on him as a young fella. Obviously Pitto out, which again is crazy. The fact that the Pitto is actually such a key player. Like when he came to the club, you hear things from Hawthorn supporters and all that sort of thing. Who's this bloke? But I think credit to Pitto and credit to TDK how well he's gone this year. And he just keeps getting better and better. Like he's around the ground and marking is just fantastic. Like I think he's on track. He's been nominated one every 3 games for Mark of the Year, which is quite crazy really for the big fella. But yeah, be a great matchup.
No, it will be, and I'm looking forward to seeing Pitt back, because I think having TDK forward rolling into the ruck is just really beneficial for us, and that showed in that first probably month or so of footy. So we'll move on to the last matchup. Lewis Young, who was, in my opinion, superb last week, 21 spoils. Like I think that's almost broken the Carlton record, if I'm not wrong. Against Rory Lobb, who he's a very interesting footballer, Rory Lobb. I think he's solid. But it's just, he's very hot and cold. But when he's on, he's on. But when he's cold, he's really off. Well, what are your thoughts on this matchup, Pato?
Yeah, this matchup actually surprised me because I don't know if you boys have heard, but I think Taberner is going to make his return this week. So I personally think Young will go straight to Taberner because I think he's probably more of the threat. But yeah, if Young does go to Lob, because they're probably both the same sort of forward, like impact wise, they can both.
If one question just before you
Yeah.
continue. So obviously Kemp's probably going to be playing down back because he has to. If you're not going to play Young and Lob, just your example, who's Kemp going to go to? That's a thing. I know
Exactly.
it's tough.
Exactly. So that's why it's probably realistic that he will go straight to Lob. But also, if he gets to half time and Kemp's doing a pretty good job on Taberner, because I don't think Lob's too much taller. Like, of course, he's taller than Taberner, but he's not miles taller. So this would be an interesting one. But I think, yeah. So if it does end up to be this matchup, I think Young, he's up to it. Like, Lob's been good, especially against the good sides, which is probably where it matters the most. So I think he's been pretty good. He's probably been in career best form in the past couple of weeks. So I think Young's up to it. But I don't want to say too much about it just because I think Lob is a solid player, as you said.
Young's just a good, it's good proof of how well the list management has recruited over the off season and really researched what we need and what gaps we need. And he's been superb, one of the best recruits of the year in the AFL. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this matchup, Carlton?
Yeah, you both said it very well. Young's had a great year, first year at the club, and he's definitely, I guess, shocked a lot, because I don't know, was he getting, how many sort of games did he get at the Doggies? Ethan, you're the expert.
He actually played in the elimination final last year, but they played him in the ruck. They played him in the ruck and up forward, and they didn't play him in the position that his natural position, which is hurting him now because they don't have any key backs. So,
which is something we've done a lot. Play players out of position, so I guess we can sort of somewhat relate to it. But no, he's been great.
Yeah, no, he has been, and just credit to him, really. Like, No Weeders, who's really the general down there for the past few weeks, and he's really stood up. So, yep, that's it for the matchups.
Thanks, mate. Are you worried, like Taberner coming back, him and Lob, are you worried one of them could just tear the game apart without a depleted backline? We've said that a few weeks now, and backline's actually held up to an extent. So.
I trust our back six. I think Newey, I was researching before, is almost the same height as Taberner. So you'd almost, if it's not working, you almost go him to a Taberner. I think people underrate Newman, and especially if Plowman's playing as well, he could take a Taberner and maybe release Kemp more, put a bit less pressure on him. But no, it'd be interesting. I rate our backs.
That's what I said actually, because it was one point of time Plowman was, we didn't have Young. We had Jones, but there's all these players had more expectations on them. But we actually got these players. I think we're forgetting we've got Plowman, as you said, and then Newman, who's had a great year. But Pato, what about you, mate? Are you a bit worried or?
Yeah, I am worried. I just think that, especially with like the past few weeks, just the chat, like the versatility of all these different forwards. Yes, they've had some key forwards dominate, but also they've probably had 3 or 4 of the best small forwards in the comp in this season, especially. Like Swickhousey's been fantastic. Collier even's been good. Who else is up there? Frederick's been good as well. So I don't know if he's playing this week or not.
He's good to go this week, I think. He's back from the suspension, I believe.
Yeah, so that's another threat. Like, wow, he's been good. So so I think, obviously there are a lot of things that Boston needs to look at, but I think Taberner, even Lob, like, them two are just the big threat.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, I agree. I think you just can't have him off the leash, especially early in the game. I think we've done well on Taberner over the last few years. He hasn't really had much of an impact. I think he's a good forward. I rate him a lot, so I don't want to jinx myself here. But no, I really trust our back six. It's just more about we've got to be able to win the ball at the source, and that's the middle of the ground. If we can do that more times than they can, we'll give ourselves a chance to win this game.
Well said, mate. All right, we'll move on to Under the Pump. We'll go to you, Pato. Who do you have the spotlight on this week, mate?
The spotlight. Speaking of small forwards, Carlton Football Club, always Durden. Zach Fisher, bit stiff. I thought he's actually been okay. But yeah, always and Durden, not good enough. They need to start doing some stuff real bad, because at the start of the season, they actually were probably up there to really be like connecting well with the key forwards. That's what I kind of realised. But I just think, Owies especially, he's probably had a few arguably just very interesting weeks because he can be really hot and he can really be really cold. And Durden's always been solid. Like, I love his ball use, but yeah, they need to do more. And it's not like you have other guys like Zach Fisher dominating a game or Jack Martin dominating a game. Like, they're not doing anything. And Harry Larson was the only shining light in that forward line. Like, yes, Charlie Kerner was stiff because he probably had Grimes holding onto his jumper the whole game. But I think that other than that, I just think that Owies and Durden, they are probably the first two people to also say that they need to step up. But small forwards for me.
It's well said, mate, because everyone was raving on about how good, and they are good, but like just have been off a few weeks. That the Mosquito fleet that we're, I guess, building at the club, Durden, Owies, and I guess also Fisher, I think's been okay. But I agree, they've been a bit off, and last week was their opportunity, and unfortunately none of them really seized it. But Ethan, what do you got, mate?
Yeah, just quickly touching on the small forwards, just the way we played in the wet last week did not help them at all either. It was just trying to pinpoint passes, but then again, you got to be able to
still got it to ground though.
Yeah, 100%. And Harry and Charlie more times than not are going to get the ball to ground. So terrible last week, and hopefully they lift, and I trust them to lift because I rate all of them. So we'll move on. My under the pump is the midfield. The last 3 weeks have been pretty terrible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just more at this, centre clearances. We were letting Prestia off the leash. I think he was player of the game because we just let him go all game. There's just something not clicking in. Although they've struggled the last probably, month or so, I trust them to, come back with vengeance and hit them hard. And I think our midfield group can do that. You got guys like, we get enough of the ball. That's the thing. They get enough of the ball. Like last week, I think there was 5 of us, 5 midfielders or whatever with 30 plus. So we've just got to impact more. Like I said, with Walsh, we've got to impact more with ball in hand. And just be smarter with the ball. Know when to kick inside 50, know when to give the handball off to release someone like Assad. But yeah, it's big pressure on the midfield coaches and on the midfield itself.
Well said, mate. Yeah, as you said, we do get a lot of the ball. So and they have been underwhelming for a little while now, but it's hard to see anyone making way or getting omitted because you actually look at them and you're like, oh, Kennedy, 20 odd disposals. Like this player got 30, you can't drop a player because of that, but it's more the impact that we're actually, I guess they're having. Like we rack up the ball, but then into our 50 count was atrocious. So, but yeah, I've got Owies, we already mentioned it. I think he's a great player, but he just needs to lift. And we'll get stuck into predictions now. Mitchell, what do you got for us, mate?
Yeah, so first goal, I was leaning towards more Matty Owies because I wanted to see him just respond with a little bit of a jumper punch. Not a jumper punch, a jumper thump with the hand. But I think it would have been good to see him. But I've gone Harry Mackay because I think that if he gets that first goal on Pearce, get into him, Pearce, mate, because he's on. If he kicks the first goal within a minute, he will remind them saying, I kicked 7 on you guys a year ago. Like in this stadium as well. This is mine. Do you know that this stadium is mine? Other than King Charlie, who is about 5 or 6 meters away, this is my stadium. So that would be a great start. But best on ground, Paddy Cripps. I think he will be starting to lock in the Brownlow Cripps. Me personally, I think Cripps has been good. But I think he'll be best on ground. I think he will give a bit of Brayshaw, a bit of this, bit of that. But and I've got the Blue Baggers by 17 points. Bit optimistic, but go the Blue Baggers.
Go the Blues. I'm going to ask the question. It's probably a stupid question. You said about Cripper sort of getting into, who did you say he's going to get into?
Brayshaw.
All right. But what did you think last week when he got into little meatball for about a second, but then walked away though? I don't know.
Nah, he got into him. He got into him 3/4 time. Bang, bang, bang.
A little bit. And then all the other players came over. Instead of keeping on swinging, he just walks off.
He did that. He pointed at him, saying, I'm not copping that shit.
You see what happened though?
Then we lost.
Yeah.
Prestia pushed Cripps straight into Walsh's knee, but that's
Yeah,
move
exactly.
on from that.
Yeah.
We'll move on from that. All right. Well said, mate.
No,
All right,
we,
we'll
just
go
don't
to
want
you
to
now.
trigger, we just don't want to trigger Richmond fans. It's a bit of a
Hey, shout out.
Ethan, what are your predictions, mate?
Yep. So my prediction is Corey Durden to keep the first. I think he's been pretty good at Marvel Stadium this year, and specifically that Sydney game, he was a pest for the Swans, and he just kicks his goals. So I think a little Durden snap, I reckon, to start the game for the Blue Baggers. And best on ground, Sammy Walsh. I think he's been good the last month. Just this week, I think he'll have more impact with ball in hand and have a fair few score involvements and hitting Harry and Charlie Lace out on tit. So that'll be good. And I'm tipping Carlton like usual. I'm too optimistic. I don't think I've tipped against us this year. So I'll back us in. I don't think the Dockers are, they're not unbeatable, like that. I feel like a Brisbane's ahead of them just a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's hard to pick right now. I don't know what's going on in this league, but I think we can take them, and it'll be a huge win if we can get this. Massive.
Yeah. Especially in Melbourne.
Absolutely.
I think like in Melbourne, like of course if it was in at Optus Stadium, I would probably lean more towards Fremantle. But I think when it's at Melbourne, and I don't know if Fremantle's played much at Melbourne Stadium this year. I'm not too sure. But but go on, Sammy. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's good, mate. No, that's well said. I think it definitely favours us playing there. So I like just going there in general. It's so much easier. You're not going to get rained on. I love the MCG, but you're not going to get rained on this week. Isn't that just exciting? But yeah, it's crazy. You're thinking about who you can see getting the first goal, and you go, oh yeah, Charlie. You can see him getting it. Dirds, you can see him sort of around the back getting the goal. But then if you get there's like another team as well, it's not just us, it's them that can also get it. So I sort of had Taverner there for a bit. I have went with Charlie in the end. I do think he's going to kick 5 minimum and be best on ground. Wouldn't be surprised if he kick 6 or 7. And I think we're going to win by 1 point. How good would it be after the siren? Though? I've never been to a match after the siren, just in general. But that would be good. But yeah, 1 point for me.
Speechless.
We'll go to you now, mate. Oh, that's all right. He's not here. That's all right. First goal. He's got Kerno as well, actually. That's why I thought I'd take mine.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's copying me, even though he did his first. But Walsh, best on ground, Blues by 13, which is surprising from Speechley. Yeah. He tipped, I don't know, it's interesting. Like he tipped Richmond last week, but he's tipping us to beat Freo. So does he not rate Freo? I don't know what's going on there, but it'll be interesting. Of course, he'll be back hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And that's about it really, boys. We'll get stuck in. Obviously, VFL is on Saturday. You boys will be there. You love your VFL after the seniors game against Coburg Saturday evening. Should be able to put them away. They're a pretty average team, Coburg, really. But I mean, we're not that great either. But yeah,
I'll be there.
Anything else, boys? You'll be there. You wouldn't even know where it's at. You wouldn't even know where the game's being played.
Where is it, Coburg?
Nah, it's at Icon Park.
Oh, I had a 50% chance and I went the other way.
It was actually a good game last week against the Doggies. Obviously, we got the win. It was very cold and I decided to wear shorts. But no, it was a great game. And get down to the VFL, my boys. It's good. Obviously, Ethan, you won't be at the seniors, let alone the VFL, will you?
I know. I'm frustrated. Round 15, and I was trying to go the whole year with going to every game in Victoria, and this will be my first miss just due to my footy. But don't worry, there could be a slim chance I could make it for the second half, but that's pending. But by the way, I'll be supporting the Blue Baggers and getting around them when they fucking smash the Dockers.
Oh. And you won't be there to watch it. How's that sad? Alrighty. No, well done, boys. That's about it. Anything else you wanted to add, Pato, Ethan?
Important game.
Yeah.
Every game is important now. Every single game. And it doesn't matter who we verse.
I think it does matter. I think it's so much more. Because we're playing pretty much every team we've got.
Yeah, that matters
for the rest of the year. Is a pretty good side.
It's pretty much an 8-point game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if we're one of the winners this week, there'll be 4 teams in the 8 that lose. So it'll be interesting. I think if we win, we'll catch, and one of the Brisbane or Melbourne lose, we'll be up with them. But if we lose, we could be down to 8th. So it's a massive round of footy, and I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah, no.
You're looking forward to watching the replay? Hey, that's good. Pato?
Yeah. Who's playing Friday night? So I know that's West Coast Essendon, but what's the other shit game?
Hawks.
What's the other shit game?
Hawks, Dogs.
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds right.
Come on,
I know.
come on,
I
come on.
know.
Imagine even like
Yeah,
like a
the Hawks to
Richmond
win
Geelong.
that.
Imagine it. Yeah, yeah.
Or
Clash of the
Carlton,
Titans.
That's yeah. Well,
Essendon get 3 Friday night games in a row. Please explain.
please explain. Please explain.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Essendon quickly though for beating the Saints last week.
Yeah, what on the Dons?
And well done to me for predicting it too, I think. But of course, I predicted TDK mark of the year, which is another thing that's going to happen. So yeah, I didn't predict that, and it won't happen. So
Oh, well, oi Daff, we predict it. We predict it, mate. Blue Baggers will win the premiership.
well, that's about it, boys. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, all you lovely people. We really appreciate all the support, all the comments, whether good or bad. Get around us, and Pato.
And as always, boys, up the Baggers.